Sally YouTube, how's it going? I am outside right now because I thought I could do a wee video on the differences between French homes and I guess non-French homes, or maybe non-European homes, the little quirks that I have realized make French homes, I guess, what they are, and the differences compared to what we find in New Zealand. And for this, I'm going to start outside because I'll start at the beginning of the driveway, because the first thing that I wanted to show you, in fact, was these gates. Now, these kinds of gates that exist at the front of properties, let me just focus on that for you. These kinds of gates that exist at the fronts of properties that, you know, allow people to enter or not enter, for me, that's very much something that you would find in a house that was basically, you know, a mansion or for celebrities or in a very prestigious gated community. What you find in France is that's actually really common. We're in the south of France right now. This is a standard family home, and yet, you know, there is this big gate that allows you to beat in and enter the property, which I find quite hardcore. And it's definitely not the only one. Just walking around in the neighborhood, very standard houses having quite hardcore, heavy, you know, electronic gates, big gates to enter the property. And I guess there's two things going on here: privacy, which has always, you know, been really important to the French, and security as well. I'm not sure how much of the worry around the security is founded or not founded, but those gates are definitely something that's quite typical to be found. I just love it when this happens. I love when you see these colourful flowers and vines against the south of France home. Probably like a weed or something, and I find it really classy. Okay, so I don't necessarily want to show the entire house in a lot of detail to respect the privacy of my beau-parents, but let me show you some things that are quite typical that we do find here in France. Now, firstly, because it is in summer and it is hot, we have these big volets, these big sort of shutters in both doors and windows. Hold up, let me just give you a better shot of them. And these quite often stay closed throughout the day in summer because it's just so hot. And you often find these blinds like this, in addition, to help us keep the heat out. As you can see as well, the houses do tend to be made more so of sort of stone and more sort of concrete-like materials. This is almost like a concrete mix with this very typical kind of sandy color. And they paint this over the outside of the wall as well. It's got a bit of a sandpaper feel to it, I would say. And then typically in terms of the shutters, you would find like a sage green, a soft baby blue, or white. That would be the typical. I have seen some purple, I've seen some yellow, but I would say those were like kind of fun and out there choices for the person living there. The classic is very much a soft blue or a soft green. Now, I think we can go inside and I'll show you some quirky wee features of French homes, but just before we do, I wanted to let you know that if you like this kind of material where you get to actually see how people live and you get to actually understand the quirky differences between cultures, one of the ways that I've kept very much connected to France has been through being able to consume the TV, the media, watch reality TV shows, watch real estate house hunting shows, watch the news, watch documentaries, and all of those kinds of things. And I was able to do that because I had what's called a VPN. Now, a VPN is essentially something that you can use with your computer. It's a browser extension. It's super easy, just in one click, and it makes your computer believe that you are in a different location. And so the location I would often choose is France, but you can choose anywhere in the world. And I use NordVPN, and I've asked them if they would partner with me on this video, and they said yes, so I'm very happy because they are awesome. They really did keep me connected to France. And as I said, one click, it couldn't be easier, and I'm in this country able to consume all of the entertainment, all of the media. You know, people do use VPNs as well because they keep you secure, they keep your IP address safe, and you can connect to hotel Wi-Fis and airport Wi-Fi and cafe Wi-Fi, knowing that your data is going to remain safe. But I use it more so for the media side of things, and it works really well because they've got 5,200 servers in 60 different countries, which means that it's super fast. It's actually won awards for how fast it really is. So it's not like there's any lag. It's like I'm based in France, watching French media. You can of course access Netflix from different countries and all of that kind of stuff as well, so the content can be different, and you're actually able to share your account across several different devices. So Niels and I share between, you know, Apple, Android, mobile, PC. You can even use it on Android TV. It's really, really well done. So thanks to NordVPN. If you want to try it too, click the link below this video because it will give you an exclusive deal just for my viewers. Essentially, you can get access to the 2-year plan at an insane discount, and it works out to be the price of like a cup of coffee per month. Really, it is so, so good. So if you like immersing yourself in different cultures like I do, definitely check it out. Oh, and just before we go inside, you know you're in the south of France when you hear the seagull, when you hear the cicadas everywhere. Listen to this. Okay, first things first, look at the thickness of these walls. These big, thick stone walls. Even these smaller walls inside the house, they're very thick, they're very well insulated. It is a big change from the little wooden boxes that we have in New Zealand, that's for sure. And obviously keeps houses really cool in summer and really warm in winter too. Whew, it is hot over here, and as you can imagine, it's very rare to find AC, air conditioning, in French homes. I've talked extensively on this channel about how allergic the French are to air conditioning, and so no surprises here. It's definitely a very moderate temperature at the moment, but we do have like the shutters closed and the blinds down. It can get very, very hot inside. Now, I would say that this is very typical. You don't often find carpet in French homes, definitely in the south of France. Their floors tend to be tiled with a tile like this. And speaking of tiles, I will show you more because you've got them in the bathroom, you've got them in the kitchen. You often do have decorative wall tiles up in houses as well. I would say it's also quite typical to find things that are quite supersized. Like, check out the size of this fireplace. And also quite typical to find very large mirrors as well, especially with this kind of goldish frame. I think as well because everything seems so old in France for someone coming from a newer country, a newer culture like mine. You know, I look at things all the time and I'm like, it's really hard for me to ascertain. Like, was this painting $5 at an antique store? Or is it worth 500? Like, I would just have zero idea. But because there are a lot of older paintings and artwork and it's in a French house, for me it's just automatically fancy, and that's probably, you know, not even the case. But you do often find very beautiful images here in the south of France, of the south of France. Walking into the kitchen now, these are some of the tiles I was telling you about before. Very, very, very typical to see tiles like that. But look at the size of this big overhead range hood, right? Just in this big old south of France farmhouse. Of course, in every French home, you'll find somewhere special to store the bread. Some baguette. And funnily enough, even in large family kitchens like this, there's no oven. There's no oven. They've just got a small, you know, microwave and then sort of cooktop oven. And I'm not sure why, but ovens seem to be less popular in France, I would say. You know, you have like a barbecue or grillade, you know, to cook meat and stuff on. But yeah, it would be unthinkable in New Zealand for a larger family home like this to not have an oven. Another thing that is quite rare to find in a French kitchen is a garbage disposal. So it would be very common in New Zealand to have a sink and a garbage disposal. And here they just keep it classic and old school with a nice big sink. Oh, I wanted to show you these as well, the sockets. I find them quite funny because they've got the pin coming out as well. Look at that, it's like you've got 2 holes plus the pin that goes back into the device as well. I'd never seen that before. Quite often in the kitchen you can find the washing machine in there as well. It's not the case in this house, but this is what you do see. A dish rack full of clothes drying. Why? Because there's no clothes dryer. Having a clothes dryer is very, very rare in France. I think it's for 2 reasons: that it's not super ecological and also it costs quite a lot to run. Speaking of the old furniture before as well, you often have just old furniture lying around. For example, look at this random chair just sitting here. It can all feel quite Louis XIV vibe. And again, it's probably just a chair from a garage sale or something. What I will say is that I find in the typical French home, you do have a lot of books. Education is very important to French people, and I find that having big, full bibliothèque or library bookshelves are almost compulsory. It's super messy, but this is just the bookshelf in the downstairs office. Oh, and this is funny as well. I think because the French language is so complex, French families often have these massive, massive dictionaries for their own language, like the French language dictionary, 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 dictionary. And speaking of another kind of book that you find everywhere in French homes, we're just gonna turn the light on, bande dessinée, comic books everywhere. Now this is just a random little créneau, like a little slot in the hallway, and it is full of comic books. You should see how many there are in the bedrooms. Speaking of bedrooms, look at the size of the pillows that you use in France. And in New Zealand, we would probably exclusively use them in a decorative sense. But here, you sleep on them like this size. I'm trying to get the scale in. It's like this whole ass pillow. And you're just sleeping all the way down here. I mean, in terms of space wastage, it's quite a lot. And something that you will definitely not find in a French bedroom, at least typically anyway, is a TV. The French are very much separation between work and life, and you know, even devices, TVs, that kind of thing are much less likely, in my opinion, to be found in a bedroom. In the bathroom, the OG viewers of Not Even French, you know what I'm about to show you. Okay, I'm about to hop in the shower, but as you'll see, you can't see any shower head up here. Why? Because it's down here. Yes, it is very typical to have the paddle of the shower head slung across like that, and it's also very typical to have the shower over the bathtub with no shower curtain. What this means is that you pick the paddle up and you wash yourself like that, and you have to stop the water flow so that you can lather the soap on yourself. You put the paddle down and you lather the soap on yourself. Then you start the water again and then you wash it off. This is the classic way to have a French shower. Most French people would agree that they shower that way to preserve water and not to waste it. So it's good for the environment, but it's also good for their money as well, because you do pay for water in some regions of France. And then of course we've got this quirky little thing. Dun 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 dun, the bidet. I had never seen one of these before coming to France, and I have to admit I was taken aback. So the bidet, as you can see, it is a lot lower than the bathtub, and the idea behind it, I believe, is to squat over it and it will spurt water up to help you keep everything down there clean. And here's another example of the tiles, the kinds of tiles you'll find in the bathroom. Never seen this before either. Windows that open, to me at least, like doors. They open in the middle like that. And you open them up. Cool friends, so I hope that you enjoyed these wee quirks and features of French homes. Obviously France is a large country with a lot of different regions and a lot of different styles. We are here in the south of France near Avignon, just for context. I would love to know for you if you found anything surprising, if it's similar or different to where you come from. And otherwise, thanks so much for watching to the end. I'll catch you here next time on the Not Even French YouTube channel. A bientôt!